So I work for Licosoft Sweden specifically, and we've been around since the end of the 70s, and Bidcon is our third generation of estimating softwares. They usually last about 12 to 15 years each software. So this is the third generation, and it's very up to date, and we really have learned our lessons from the old ones. So one thing is that we need to make it adjustable. It needs to be open, or even transparent, as we call it. It needs to be dynamic so that each company can customize it according to the way they would like to work, according to their discipline or actions, and also each user needs to be able to do some tweaks to how they work with Bidcon. But there's a few basic things. So one of them is, of course, the layout, and of course some stuff underneath the surface that I will mention. And if you have any questions about IT and that stuff, I'll go through that later. So behind underneath everything, there's a huge SQL database that is divided up to different fractions. One is called the system, and the system could be stuff like different tables, like the NRM code table. It could be other tables like labor constant tables for different kind of works, paintings or electrical or carpentry. So that kind of system data. There's also some examples from us, like the ones that you can see here, which is maybe a trench with pipes, an internal wall, or some roof or whatever. So these are all the system data that is stored in one SQL. There's also a specific part of the SQL database that is only for you guys, only for the clients, that we cannot see, and it's called the client customized database. So all the keys and the personal ones also tagged with that is saved in a special part of the database. Also, each estimate is saved into this huge database. So there's a lot of different examples, projects, estimations. They're all stored in the SQL database. Why am I talking about the SQL database? The thing is, the SQL database handles massive amount of data really, really quick. It's actually doesn't matter how much data there is, how big a project is, how many projects you have, how many users you have. So we have companies with 450 concurrent users located in 7 different countries, and they can use the software. Also, you don't need to save each project the whole time. If something breaks down, the internet or actually the server or whatever, the laptop drops in the floor, each stroke of each key is saved automatically in the SQL database. So the last save is well, the last stroke of the key is saved. And of course what we do then is we have something called undo or redo, because it will kind of remember the last actions that you have made. So if you do something, you don't want to save it, you could go back and undo whatever you did. Most of the time, we kind of face our consequences though. So that was underneath the surface. Yes, I should have also, of course, tell you about the user management, which is quite rigid. So we have different basic functionalities like handling the cost library, the estimation sheets, the system modules, etc. And you can set different user rights to do this, these different actions like reading, adding, modifying, deleting, executing, and stuff like that. And you can define your own user groups. I specifically like this CEO level, where all they can do is type in the report. Yes, I have customized this. It's not in Bidcon default, but you can customize any user level. Some of our clients do have a user plus level, maybe experienced QS or estimator. So you can customize your own user level, what they can, what they can't do. You can also say what kind of, are they going to have access to this folder to read, to modify, or to a specific project. So it's very secure. It's a very secure system, and that's what we learned when you build estimating software for big companies that multiple people are using. It's hard enough to be on your own now and then you delete a file. We know that. All of us who has used Excel, you delete a file and you lose everything. You lose a month of work. So therefore you can restrict things. Also, being on a server, you always have backups on a server, so it's very easy to do like restores and stuff like that. So you have backup and restore settings and stuff like that. It's very secure. Well, enough of the IT. Let's go into the cost library. Cost library is really important. You actually don't need a cost library, but it is really important because this is the future, the time saver, the standardization for your company. When we started using these, what we call recipes, into the Swedish market, it had a massive breakthrough. So we have a huge percentage of the Swedish market. That's why we have to go outside Sweden. These recipes could be like an external wall, like you see here on the right side, or it could be a some kind of mold for floors that looks like this, and it consists out of different parts. Maybe this insulation or this filling of gravel. Of course, this filling of gravel also consists out of something, which is a subcontractor actually sending us these cubic meters of gravel. So recipes are built up on smaller pieces, a little bit like you have the sponge cake, you have the egg and the sugar, and you whisk them together, and then you put them into the flour, I guess, and all of a sudden you bake it in an oven, and there you have, here's your external wall. So a little bit like that is our recipes. An external wall consists out of maybe an insulation disc, at least in Sweden because it's cold, and that insulation disc consists out of the thin plasterboard or whatever it is, and also it wasn't the insulation, it was a plasterboard and a labor effort. So it's a material and a labor effort, and they contribute with different costs. And of course we can take a look at that thin plasterboard that has some kind of cost that either comes from the system or from different live-fed price sources that we'll come to in a minute. And you can also add different parameters like dimensions and environmental properties. This cost library is built up on these mixed elements, which is often called, we often call that like rooms, areas. It could be a complete garage, for example. And that garage could consist out of different functionalities like asphalt superstructure, external walls, internal walls, the concrete floor, the roof, the windows, external doors, and all that stuff. And of course, these design element will consist out of work results, which is very often like a door, and a door consists out of a door, a frame, some carpenter efforts. So that's how the pyramid is built. So a garage is built out of design element. A design element is built up on work results. The work result is built up on basic resources, and basic resources are stuff like material, machines, labor, subcontractors, etc. For the UK market, we don't only have our examples, our Consultic or Bidcon examples. We also have the SPONS cost library built in, architects and builders, approximates or measured works for demolition, for example. So you could see that, I have no clue what this is, breaking up plain concrete bed and load it into skips will cost you 963 for plants, and the labor is 1886, which brings you up to a total of 2849, and the time to spend on this per square meter is 0.99 hours. So this is Spons cost library, and of course you know more about Spons than I do, but I know that Spons is architects, builders, civil engineering, external works, and MEP. This all sounds very, very nice, and you guys, what you can do is that you can actually look at our external walls, and you can copy it as your own, renaming it to a very special wall, and you can change it or amend it according to whatever you want to do. If you want to change a plasterboard for something else, you can change that thin plasterboard for something else. I have no clue, but let's just change that one. Now that one is changed, you can say, no, I'm not going to have that one. We're not going to have that one. So you can actually get rid of a few things. And as you can see, the picture here is now redrawn because it's generated automatically by Bidcon. So if I want to have that installation in, I'll tick that box. But if I'm happy with this recipe, I'll simply save it. Now I have a special wall. And next time, if I want to look at that special wall or use it in an estimate, it will look like this. I don't have to delete rows, which of course I can do. I could delete all those rows if I wanted to, but I might need that installation another day. So I simply tick or untick it like active. Okay, so what I did is I created something called a customized recipe. And I talked about security, and I don't want to give everyone in the company right to create their own recipes, because that would be littering, I would say. So you also have a chance to actually create something we call personal. That means that you only can see it yourself. So if I have this one as my special, I will have it like a heart, which means that I'm the only one who can see this special wall. But I could send it to other users if I would like to, like maybe an administrator of the system or something else. Okay, yes, I could do that, but I can also get rid of that if I feel that's littering. You can also tag things if you're really happy with them, the way they look, the way they feel. You can have them as your favorite. And of course, you can always filter for your favorites and find your favorites if you have any favorites somewhere. Favorites appear in a special tab called favorites. And it's only for you as a user. So I sometimes work with IKEA or companies that work with IKEA, and they have very special standardized way of working, a little bit like house builders actually. So you could actually put their different recipes, no matter what level of detail, into one folder, or you could put all your wall elements in one folder, but you can actually design your own folder structure according to your own will, with multiple branches and stuff like that. So, and of course you can put as much stuff in each as you would like to. Nothing in that one, but a lot in that one. So this is about the cost library. It's very easy to create your own. You could create it from scratch, create a new one, add a custom one, and simply add things that is already in the cost library, simply by going into different folders, maybe having that that timber, that timber, that timber, and that timber. I don't know why you would do that, but you can also set different factors or quantities to it. So every time you select one of that one, we're going to have two of that one. That means that you have now a factor of 2. but you can also set up other logics, like let's select one of them, either that one or that one. So it's a lot of different things that you can do in this, and you can of course name it to whatever, setting that cost to linear meters. And you can also add different codes according to the different tables that is in the system. So if you know what you're doing, it's really easy to do it. That was the cost library. No, not really. You can also feed in the live costs, such as price lists from vendors or from your ERP system, feeding in costs for example, the plasterboard, different types. Yeah, and this price list is actually an Excel file. We can manage whatever files. So this is the Excel file that I used. And you can send it out for someone to price up and then just import it back in again. It's really easy, and it's done like this. So into Bidcon prices I can import using a special format. It could be from a vendor in the Baltic or Finland or something else. Let's call it that way, and you could import that price list. No, not there. It is. So you can either go this way and simply import it. If it came from another currency, from another country, you would set that currency, and you would have an automatically currency factor, and that's how you import a price list. It's very hard, isn't it? There you go. Now the price list is in. I'm just going to get rid of that one. It's no use to have that. And that price list now feeds in live costs to the resources. So the resources is the material, the machines and all that. The costs can come from price list to these resources. These resources is often one or two parts of the work result, which is also some part of the design element, and therefore you have costs on these recipes saying a door will cost you 177.48 per door, and the time to put it in place is 1 hour 69. End of cost library. Probably is a lot of questions, but I haven't heard from Jim yet, so I'm going to move on. Okay, so that was the cost library. It's always there, but let's start something else. You can have multiple templates when you start an estimate. This is the fun part. You can have as many templates as you would like. You can have them pre-populated, you could have them blank, or you could have them structured without any cost items. It's up to you. You can have one for service, one for a special type of house or whatever, one country. It's up to you guys. You can decide. I'm going to show you how to actually create a few of these templates. These are the default ones for the UK market, by the way. So I started an estimate, and that estimate was a blank one. And also what I did is I imported I thought I imported a BIM file. Yes, I did. And that BIM file is a house. No, two houses. And they have a lot of slabs and stairs and walls. I guess a lot more stuff too. So it's a lot of stuff in this model. And all I've done is that I have taken, for example, these stair flights and dragged and dropped it into the estimate. And when it comes into the estimate, it will create a part where it actually put the stairs. So that's my stairs now. And if I delete this, I should show you then. So these are the stairs, and it used to be 44 items drawn, and now it's 0 left in the drawing because they're all in Bidcon. So if I delete those stairs, delete the posting, Bidcon will actually put it back into the drawing. Now it's 44 remaining. So let's do it again. Taking it off, there it comes. There's the stairs, and there's no stairs left in that drawing. I've taken off some other things as well, like the walls. I'm going to show you what walls there is by simply clicking in Bidcon on the different walls or foundations. So you can see they're all linked in Bidcon. And of course, there is a bunch of things that we can do here in Bidcon. We could hide selected or hide already imported into Bidcon so you can see what's left. So this is what's still to take off from that model. I don't need that model anymore. But it's very easy to do these takeoffs, and Bidcon will actually show you all the details about all the postings. So for example, the stairs, you could see that it's called something. It could have different properties like width or height or skin area. It could have other properties. It could have some kind of codes for production or NRM or whatever, internal ERP account codes or stuff like that. But Bidcon will read it all. And if it's not really measured up, Bidcon will measure it up for you. So these are stuff that Bidcon has contributed with. All right, so once we have that in Bidcon, you can price it up. So this external wall, I now changed that one for a recipe, and I can do that for you as well. So exchanging this concrete wall from the recipe, I will add just a wall, an external wall. There you go. So this external wall, 2,423, now consists out of these items that we already saw before. So this is now the wall in the example, and if I don't want the installation, I could untick that one, as I said earlier. So it's changing of costs a little bit. So you can see that different costs drives the total costs. So you can see what each resource type contributes with. Labor, 92 pounds for that one, 94.36 for that one, and subcontractor cost for that one. And then with the quantity, and that's the total for that one. And in the external walls, we have a total of 435,396. And if you have a group, subgroup, you could summarize it up all the way. So the total of my net sheet right now is 1,220,000. But if I break it up, I could go into details and see what level, whatever level of detail I would like to see. I can drill down to how much the mason, the dry mortar is, how many kilos, how much total cost it is, etc. So that was importing a BIM model. And of course, we can see a summary, an object summary, each item in the estimate that is exactly identical, which means that actually if you have poured concrete in 5 different places, it would summarize in this object summary saying that you have 2,000 cubic meters of concrete that you need for this place. Let's check the quantities. You can filter on by clicking on the header so that we can see we need a lot of walls, drywall screws. 72,000 screws, that's nice. And I can also see that I actually linked it to that price list that I imported. And that means that the cost it's not really expensive, but the total cost is 5,000 then. I can see what selected price source I do have on that one. I can see which item drives the biggest cost total. And that was something I put in earlier. It's just a hedge, but it was really expensive because it's a lot of hedge. Also, you can see the carpenter is quite heavy, and it's 37, so maybe I should hire a subcontractor for that one. Negotiating it down to 35, which means that now I'm changing from system to manual, maybe saying it's a subby from Tom's, whatever. Of course, I can delete that, and it will find its way back to 37, and I can delete the note as well. I can send up price inquiries for everything, maybe searching for something called concrete, saying let's ask for these concrete, email it to a supplier of that one, and they will receive an automatically generated email, and they will have a locked macro Excel, so all they can fill in is actually the price, the unit, and a comment, and of course their company name. And then we would import it back into Bidcon by that arrow, and it will create something like this gyprock like I sent out earlier for my earlier demo this morning. And it will say, okay, so it's linked with this vendor. You could send it to multiple, and you will have multiple price options. You can select what option you would like to use, and you can set that as a dynamic price selection, like the lowest, the highest, the biggest margin. If you want to select on the net or the gross price, if you want to have a customized level. And you can select what order, if you want to have it in the lowest or if you want to have it in a search order. It can all be customized according to your standards, but also for each project. So when you are happy with everything, you make sure that you don't have any zero costs for anything. It's going to enter a cost for that one, so they have a cost for everything. You should go to your summary sheet. It's an Excel-based sheet that you can customize yourself. This is just an example that we send along with you, so it picks up all your costs and kind of group it together in some kind of a logical fashion, like the labor costs, the different costs for the sheets, the expenses, the sub-base costs, and you can set your margin profit to 15%, and sub-base for 5. That means that you would actually quote a little less than 2 million for this job. So you can do all your adjustments and changes and calculations, Excel-based once again. The key data can be picked up easily. We use different formulas that we enter into the Excel, like get the net sheet material costs. That's what this means. So we have manuals and stuff like that. And you can make it as complex as you would like to do. Different clients do different stuff. But it all comes down to we need to have some kind of calculations, maybe benchmark comparisons, comments to different costs, whatever breakdowns you would like to do. So that was different inputs. I will show you more inputs, different way of working with the estimate once you've done the quantification. So this is something I call the Sanity Check when you go into the object summary to see that, okay, so do I have quantities on everything? And it's pretty bad when you don't, because that means that someone, me, has been sloppy. Do I have cost for everything? Yeah, I fixed that one earlier. What is the biggest cost on this project? That's the one. We need to work on those ones, because if we kind of figure these three out, the other ones won't matter that much. Maybe create some reports or calculate some key values based on Excel formulas or more advanced calculations or adjustments. Or maybe we just simply would like to print some reports. So we have multiple reports. This is a standardized report based on the structure and the different parts that is in the estimate, the postings as we call them, just to name the quantity, unit, and different costs broken into different resource types. Or maybe schedule of works. Maybe you want to send out a old-fashioned quote on this one. Can you price these ones up? The basic walls, 68.25 cubic meters. Can you price them up? So you can generate different printouts. Of course, it can be an Excel, PDFs, or whatever you want to do. Maybe you want to use some of the codes, like the NRM codes, to split it up, or maybe your account codes to split it up into different ways. As I said, you have multiple reports that we have designed. You can create your own, or maybe even your own. I have no clue what this is. That's pretty bad when you do a demo, you don't know what it is. Yeah, that wasn't that nice. But you can create your own in any fashion, and you can do whatever you want to do. You can do a cost code analysis if you want to feed it back into your ERP system based on something like labor cost, material costs, subcontractor costs. I don't know. This is something that we will talk and analyze with you. How do you want to set Bidcon up? I promised other imports, maybe something like a bill of quantity, maybe based on a Bluebeam or something else. How about if I just do an example import? My examples. So I'm just going to import an Excel file without any special structure, just importing that file. It will generate different postings. I can open that Excel for you if you want to see what it looks like. Sorry about that. So this is the Excel that I imported, and I highlighted the important ones is in green in my Excel. It's the name, the quantity, and the unit, of course, but I can also import other stuff like my code. If I want to have something like it's going to be a subby, and I do know that between the fingers cost is £2 per cubic meter, I could enter that value there. I could enter if I know that normally topsoil is 2 hours per square meters. You can enter if I know that you want to add some trades to it, like topsoil, and that one goes to civil engineering or excavating and stuff like that. So you can do that. And also, of course, revisions if you're going to have other takeoffs or imports of quantities. You could call it version 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. And Bidcon will read that one. So the result in Bidcon is now, here's the topsoil, the different things in here. There's some codes imported, there's some trade codes imported, there's some other notes imported. We can import all that. We could price them up simply by marking them all up and pricing them up manually and letting Bidcon do all the works. And once we look at that one, we can see that this excavation has a labor effort, 2 hours, as I said, but also we need to have a machine for costs 2 per square meters. Excavation, that's a subby. The concrete, oh, well, that was complex. So the concrete is also labor. Then we have a machine, the material, and subby for handling that concrete. And as I said earlier, you can do whatever you want to do at any stage, changing, doing other stuff. So if I want to change this one, I'm just picking something, probably not really the same. And if I don't like that, I could undo it, going back, and of course I can redo it too. That was Importing bill of quantities. Of course, I can create my own structure, just like this. Create a new group, calling it phase 1. Having a subgroup, of course, I could enter a part calling it house 1, for example, and then I could search and find maybe some windows, 12 windows, 5 external doors, 16 internal doors. I need an external wall, 89 square meters, etc. Entering these postings from my cost library, and of course they have a sub-level of information driving different costs up. I could then copy and I could paste it. I could rename that one to 2. I could copy and I could paste that one, calling that one phase 2. So there you go. And you can also, of course, change these recipes, as we said earlier, and save it down later to your cost library. This could be a template. This is normally how we build a house. This is normally how we do it. If you would like to do that, save it as a template. All you have to do is save it as a template. And let's call that strange house template. And the next time I want to do a project, a new estimate, I just need to close all that junk I had in the background. I don't need to, but I want to. And I have the strange house template that I can use. And there we go. And if I expand this one to the posting, you can see it's exactly as I left it. So now it's a template, and all you guys or your guys need to know is we're going to have 12 windows. No, we're going to have 8. We're going to have 5 external doors. No, 2. Is it going to be 1 interior door? No, 6. All you have to do that. We're not going to have any external walls. So untick that one. We're not going to have any phase 2. Untick that one, because it will drive a 0 cost to it. And well, of course, you could delete if you would like to. But that's kind of rad, so let's undo that one. So basically, it's really quick, and it's a software that is learning by doing. I would like to show you one more thing, and it's a changed view. I changed to another Bidcon that is on our server. It's the version that we are just going into testing and releasing in a month. It's same Bidcon basically, but we have added some functionalities that has been requested by a few of our clients. And in this case, I use a template called NRM1, so everything is pre-structured according to new rules of measurement. So you have all the different things in here, and that gives me a structure, helps me out with the structure. I have added a few items like drainage by the building, and I have a quantity to it, but I haven't set it to active yet, so all I need to do is tick it, and it will drive costs up here. It could be a pre-populated template. This drainage by the building, the recipe looked like this, and of course I have some backfill. I also have some top fill in this one, but I can also change different things, like the height of the shaft is now 700, it could be 500, and Bidcon will recalculate the different quantities of filling, etc., etc. And it's the same for all the big recipes in Bidcon. So I had some preset quantities in this one. It could be 0. so that all you have to do is say, are we going to have some pipe trench? Yes. And we're going to have it 65 meters. And there you go, driving a cost for 8 or 9,000 pounds. There's something in italic here, and that is a pre-populated value. It comes with something called a quantity formula. This is the new thing that has come from other clients. Why is my estimate pre-quantified? Yes, but it's because you have questions now. So in your properties, when you start it, you have questions such as, can you please state the GIFA to 880? Let's say that's 111. And also the external wall area is 123. So if you state that quantity, a bunch of the postings will read that. So the floor, of course, is based on the GIFA, but also the roof is based on the GIFA. It could be, if I double click on this one, it could be that it should be maybe 1.1 times the GIFA, because it's kind of, the roof is a little bit bigger than the ground floor internal area. So now you can add other adjustments, mathematical functionality into this one as well. And if you hover over it, you can see that it says 1.1 times the GIFA. It's quite neat, and it goes really fast, giving you the first estimate. And some guys often come back and say, well, how detailed is it? Well, looking at what's inside this one in detail, so that was just 122.1 square meters of roof, but you have roof tiles, and you also have the roof tiles, the transportation for roof tiles, because now you need 1,307.2 tiles. Wow. And the transportation will cost you this much. And you need some sundry items as well. So it is detailed, that's what I'm saying, even though it looks like it's not. But it's all up to you guys how detailed you would like it to be. So we did look at the different screws, and we can look at them again. Yeah, it's always a bunch of screws, because it's a lot of screws when you do these plasterboard things. Well, the new stuff, some of the new stuff, it's a lot of new stuff, is these dynamic properties that comes from a house builder in the UK, but also a house builder in Slovakia and Sweden. We have about 98% of all the house builders in Sweden, but they are a bit lazy, because they already have their recipes, and the estimators is already trained in doing stuff, so they don't really need this. But for the UK market, it was important, because the software that you have is really complex, and it doesn't have to be. So if you can state these things, you'll be fine. But also you can add your own. Maybe let's call it 03 external area. So what you could do is that you can enter your own external area. You can add your own functionality if you are an administrator of your system, which I am, of course. Then you could state 5,500 square meters. And if I had something, yeah, let's do that then. I will take that external area to feed into my asphalt area. So now my asphalt area is 5,500 square meters. And I'm also going to have more layers to my asphalt surface. There you go. Now it's more expensive. So you could change it. You can add it to yourself. And as I said, you can change the recipes.